Hey, what's up? Well, welcome back to Recession Van Life. Last time I was so proud of myself to get all these open box items, maybe a 60% discount on average, 55, 60%. Now it's the day to install. So I'm excited, no doubt about it. I have a 200-watt solar panel. I have a new charge controller. Bought these new mounting brackets that I've never used before. And so we're going to kind of go through it. What I'm thinking is that I need to kind of lay everything out here in the basement before maybe as a staging area before I kind of go outside and it's windy and it's sunny and you got glue and ladders and everything else. One thing I didn't mention in the prior video is that when you get some of these components, they're not always going to give you these branch connectors. Fumblerooski. These branch connectors, and you can see, I think I showed these to you before, but you can see very much how these would allow you to combine two lines into one, right? And here's the other one. And notice, I'll do it side by side so you can see what we're doing here. Right. They're obviously different. So don't buy two of the same thing, is what I wanted to say. I know for a lot of new people, just all these little things to think about whenever you're doing a new project. Yeah. It's good to know what you need. So that'll help. So yeah, get two different ones. That'll allow you to hook those panels together. So these we talked about already. I'm going to have to lay this out on the floor and see how these bolt sections, because they're not really pre-drilled. I think you can see that right there. Really, the light catches that well. There's no pre-drilled hole in there. So gonna have to do some kind of drilling, I guess. So this was the open box charge controller, and you can see there's all the instructions. It's not like they just throw it in some random box. I mean, it still has all the factory issued styrofoam and everything that you would expect for shipping. I'm just going to inspect this because, like I said, it's nice to save a bunch of money, but you want to make sure that it's in good repair. So if we pull this off, which just looks like what we're going to need to do, it exposes these flat heads. Yeah, so we can draw these screws off, insert our wires, clamp it down. So the other thing that's odd is it has 6 terminals instead of just 4. So obviously positive and negative for the PV, photovoltaics panel, whatever you want to call it. Plus and minus on the battery, and then plus and minus load. I wonder what that is. Strange new world. So I'm just going to tighten these back up, but I will say that Renogy, been having this conversation about, which of these companies is better, assuming that all the products came from the same factories essentially in China, that what differentiates one company from the next? Well, perhaps you could say that Renogy at least does some kind of how-to install videos. They used to be pretty piss poor a few years ago when I started doing this, but I saw some on their channel or on their website. When you go to their shopping page, they have some kind of overview and install. So looking forward to that. I guess I should say with a $400 charge controller, I basically got a multiple language pamphlet about how I can contact customer support. So really no instructions. Okay, so I think the easiest way is just to grab this bad boy. And as you can see, I mean, it comes with all the standard styrofoam protection. It's just exactly in the same quality as the new ones as far as I can tell. Let's just look here. There's a little bit of silicone. Okay, so I did find this one kind of, let's look at it. So I'm not sure how well this is going to show up in the video, so I'll just take some photos of it and drop it in the final version. But there's this kind of silicone uh, caulking here. That's just, there's a huge glob. I mean, it's dried, it's fine. Some around this part, which I don't remember seeing before in some of those other parts that I purchased from them. So now I wasn't looking at it this closely previously, so maybe they just got a little sloppy with the silicone. It does have the Pass QC stamp. Okay, so I laid it out here on these plastic brackets that I'm going to be using, and I wanted to see what the clearance was because I kind of wanted to still maintain as much as possible that kind of stealth van, that, you know, don't stand out too much look. And when I put a tape measure on it, from the floor to the bottom underside of the panel is 1 inch, or about 2.5 centimeters. I also grabbed one of these old Z channels. I think you guys may have seen me use these before. They're very often kind of touted as one way to attach these to the roof, and I was using these rails. Definitely it's going to be more cost effective to use these plastic mounting brackets, especially if you can get them for $17. Like, we got them discounted down from $40 from Renogy. Yeah, I think a package of these Z brackets can be just $25 by themselves. So sorry for the glitchiness. I think I need to clear up some space on my computer. Anyways, this is almost exactly the same height here as these black channels. So actually, at the end of the day, because you're going to have the Z bracket, and then you're also going to have the channel right underneath it, like this. So you'd sort of have like the Z bracket would be like the here, and you'd have like a orange rail that you need to attach maybe as this orange piece, and so the total height of all this would actually be greater than what you're getting here. So that's kind of cool. Now the other point is just to make sure that the holes line up. I think the only real problem that you could get into is if you screw up on the angle that the screw goes in. Obviously, if you screw it and it's coming up towards your panel, you know, obviously you want to avoid that. But I think if you manage to go straight in from the side, it's just going to be super easy. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes out while I'm down here. I have electricity, I'm out of the weather, and it's easy. I'm not on top of a truck. And then we'll figure out what kind of bolts and washers we need in order to make that work. Then we'll put it all together down here, we'll take it apart, and we'll put it back up on the truck. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so just a quick few words about putting these on. It was fine, no big deal today. They feel pretty sturdy. It is quite a lot of drilling, and I think the biggest concerns were making sure that we drill straight down so that we don't hit this. It's not really that close. It actually, they engineered these pretty well, I feel like, and so leaves you a lot of extra room so that you won't hit the panels. And also the aluminum is really easy to drill through. Did have to run to the hardware store, which was fine. And if I was to do it over again, I would have gotten, for Americans using standard units, I would have gotten the 1.25 inch bolt, and so 1/4 inch by 1.25 long, and threaded all the way to the end. I was glad, however, that I got the washer and the lock washer. Because I got 1.5 inches, it was a little bit long, and I wasn't able to get the ratchet really where I could drive it all the way down to the end. But because I had that lock washer, I could get it close. I could kind of hold it with my finger, and then using the ratchet basically from the outside, it worked. To convert that to metric units, I think it's 7mm is about as comparable as we can get to the American 1/4 inch diameter. So, and then the length converts to about 32 or 33 millimeters. Also, just heads up, the 1/4 inch measures the threaded part as well as the length. So this is not having anything to do with the head of a bolt, in case you're wondering. Okay, so just want to wrap up on the things that you're going to need. So ratchet set's going to be great. If you run with the 1/4 inch bolts, the head is going to be 7/16. Obviously, if you run 1/4 inch or 7mm bolts, you're going to need the same size drill bit. So you're going to need some kind of drill kit. These were helpful, just the attachment, right? I think the nut driver, bit driver, whatever they call them. this was somewhat helpful. Actually, I didn't use this. You will need this. This is the adhesive that we've been using. It's the Sikaflex 715. There's probably other products. This is fairly expensive, maybe $25 a tube. But hey, I mean, you got to really think that if this thing comes whipping off your vehicle, I mean, it could kill somebody. It really could. It could cause multi-car pileup if you're on the highway, and you don't want to mess with that lawsuit. So just spend the money, right? I think it's just one of those things where you just spend the money, for sure. We did talk about the branch connectors before, but I'll just reiterate that. And a nice space to work. It's going to also take a couple Pepsis, a couple flavored waters, a basketball game, some cold pizza, morning coffee. I think that's about it. So, okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow for the solar panel install. Should be pretty easy. Okay, so now I'm on to the part of installing this new charge controller, which in the previous video it looks kind of small, but it's not really small. It's maybe 15 pounds, 7 kilos. So I always want to say that when I get into these projects, I always feel a little bit slightly intimidated, like electricity, new products, mounting everything, trying to just get it right. So don't worry if you feel like that, I guess. It's my encouragement. Let's take a look at this charge controller and see what we're going to do. Okay, so this one had a couple screws that I managed to drop on the floor and find. I'm going to take this off, and here's our 6. This is our basically solar cell positive line, negative line, battery positive, battery negative, battery positive. It's a little hard to see. These loads are for some extra applications that they have. And so now we need to undo this old one. Okay, so on this old one, they are always telling us that we want to make sure that the battery is always, probably the right way to say it is that these solar power lines are not hooked up without it being connected to a battery. So when we did the last solar panel ad, I talked to my friend who is an electrical engineer, and he said in order to disrupt the circuit, you could just basically pull one of these off, which is what we did. And then we undid those branch connectors on the roof, and then we added the new panel on the roof, and then we came back down here and we replugged one of these. So I'm going to start by taking these out. So this is kind of odd feeling, because usually when you're working on cars, people always tell you to make sure, and the first thing you do is disconnect the battery. And here, the last thing we want to do is disconnect the battery. So it's sort of odd. Yeah. I'm just going to pull this positive one out. One thing I've noticed in the past, or I've mentioned many times in the past, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it. There's some red paint on there. Yeah, you can see it. It's super helpful, because what if I have to put something down and I don't denote positive and negative on these lines coming from the roof? I mean, the last thing I want to do is have to trace back all the way through the insulation and all that other stuff to get up there. And so now it's just on the battery. And we also need to disconnect these. So we'll do that. Okay, done. Okay, so I just took this flathead screwdriver and backed off the negative battery, positive battery. That's always where we want to start. Be careful, it's really easy to sort of lose your way on that. So start with the negative, which is here. From the battery, start with the battery. Okay. Okay, so the positive from the battery, and it came on, and that's good. So it's got a bunch of different settings here, but I think you can see the screen came on, so we'll start there. Okay, I'm gonna try to say this. So I just got done, connecting the power, of course, first from the battery, make sure you remember that, and then second from the solar panels. Also, somewhere along the lines, I found this little trick where you can take a piece of paper and put dots on there for where you need your screw holes to go to line up for your whatever you're trying to hang, and then it works really nice. So, I mean, I already did this once, but okay, like that. And then there's 4 more attachment points for this, and then you gotta go download the manual and figure out how to set it to the proper batteries that you have. But that was kind of day one, a little bit stressful. I did see on these ports here that it does look like someone had put a screwdriver to it before and maybe a little bit torqued some of those bolts, so it didn't seem to be a problem, and so far it looks like it's operating normally. But it just, I guess, let you know if the open box special comes back to bite me. But for now, I think we're good. So we'll see you tomorrow after. We'll see you tomorrow for the install for the panels up on the roof. Thanks.